wanted to share a tool that I started using recently. And if you're doing any prospecting or lead sourcing from LinkedIn, it's definitely worth checking out. The tool is called Surf, and it's spelled SURFE. It's a Chrome extension that allows you to add contacts to your CRM directly from LinkedIn. I use it to add contacts quickly, follow my deals, keep track of my notes, and it's actually saved me a bunch of time. The data is always 100% accurate because I don't have to copy and paste each detail from each contact over to my CRM. Instead, Surf does it all for me automatically with just one click. Now, the folks over at Surf have been kind enough to put together a promo offer for fans of SSP. You can go to the link in the show notes and use the promo code JWSURF with an E 5 for a 5% discount on your first year. Check out the link in the show notes and go check them out. What's up, everybody? It's Jesse here. And today I wanted to talk a little bit about something that I've been encountering a lot over the last couple of weeks. It's something that I've always had a little bit of a struggle with over the course of my career, which is actually breaking up with prospects. So every so often, you're going to get a prospect that lands in your pipeline or in your funnel that is not the right fit for your business for whatever reason. Maybe they don't have the budget to spend. Maybe there's no way to deliver ROI for that customer. Or maybe there's like a technical mismatch where they want a specific feature or they have a specific tech environment that just isn't aligned with what you do and what your expertise and specialty is. So this is where it gets kind of interesting because as sales reps, we're all very territorial in some cases, but we always want to hold on to any possible opportunity because we've got numbers to hit and money to make. And it's really, really difficult to turn somebody away, especially when that person's eager to keep digging into deeper conversations and they want to keep stringing you along, taking you through the funnel, right? Like, how do you break up with somebody who's come to you or responded to a cold outreach? It's really difficult. It's one of the things I've struggled a lot with because it's awkward. It's awkward. What do you just call them? Do you email them? How do you tell them that there's not alignment? How do you tell them they're not a fit without feeling like a weird, gatekeeper or just, rude or whatever it is? So this is a couple of ways that I've been doing this lately. So we've just in the last week and a half, I've had a handful of contacts or prospects enter my pipeline that just weren't a fit. So here's how I handled those. There's a couple of ways that you can kind of address the fact that there's not a fit. One is if you think that it's based on costs. For example, you have a prospect that you're in the back of your head saying this person's no way, then there's no way this is going to be a meaningful deal size for us. There's no way they're going to be able to afford us. This is pretty common, especially in the enterprise companies. And I've been at a few of them now where you'll get these smaller companies that come into the pipeline and they have a bunch of questions and they want to evaluate it very thoroughly. But you kind of suspect based on the type of company they are, they just might not be the size to spend the minimum threshold spend for your product. This is very common. And so how do you say that to them without sounding rude or being a gatekeeper, like I said? I just always bring it up and just sort of address it. We at my company have a minimum threshold. And so I'll always just lead with that. And it sounds crazy that, in like an inbound conversation or on a discovery call that I'll almost start off that way, especially if I suspect that they're not going to want to make the investment. I'll bring it up within the first 5 or 10 minutes of the call. Hey, look, guys, we have a minimum threshold. This covers our costs as a business. So I want to bring that up early on to make sure that there's alignment here. Because if there's not, I want to point you to a more cost-effective option, or I want to, help you get started elsewhere so that you can grow to the point where you can use our product instead. So that one's a little bit easier because you can just lead with a number. And maybe your company doesn't have a minimum threshold. You should just set one for yourself. Of course, run that by your manager, run that by your founders, your CEO, whoever needs to hear that. But I don't think there's anything wrong with having a personal minimum threshold deal size for yourself. You have to decide what that number is. But if you have a company come into your funnel that you don't think is going to be able to spend that, is it worth your time to really go through the deal cycle, especially if you have to manage that account on the back end or someone else does? Is it really worth it for the business? And maybe you're worried that if you're wasting leads or wasting prospects that you're going to get in trouble. I've found that's typically not the case. Most business leaders will recognize that you're trying to find the best customers for the business, the ones that are going to be long-term, the ones that aren't going to be a heavy lift from an account management standpoint, and the ones that are going to spend what you're worth as a business. So always know your worth in these conversations. realize that your product was not just built for free, blood, sweat, tears, whatever investment went into making your product. And so, you demand a minimum threshold price. So that's one way that you can politely disqualify or break up with a prospect, is weed them out based on the pricing. Another way that I've found is just really digging into the feature requirements that they're looking for and being very specific. And if you can't meet those, be very clear with the prospect on that fact. If a prospect wants something a certain way, or there's a certain feature that they must have, try to really identify those in that discovery call. And if you can't deliver those, I would say it's not worth your time to continue pursuing the deal. You could, of course, bring that up in the conversation. Hey, we don't do X today, and I don't know if we are going to do X at any point in the future. Is this going to be a showstopper for us? Asking questions like that will actually make the prospect respect you more. It'll also make your leadership sleep better at night, knowing that you're at the front gates and you're only going to let the best and brightest customers that are willing to make the investment and willing to be a true partner in the deal cycle and in the longer term customer relationship. This is an all around good thing. So you can also, just to recap, you can also use feature function specifics as a, hey, I want to make sure we're aligned here. We can't do this today. If this is a deal breaker, then we need to establish this now. I don't want to waste your time. I know you don't want to waste mine. Let's not do that. So let's figure out if this is worth the time investment. So that's another way that you could break up. I'm trying to think off the top of my head a couple of other ways that I've done it before in the past. And it all really just comes down to being genuine. And you can always preface anything you say that's it's breakup oriented as, look, I'm a consultant. I look at myself as a consultant in this space, and I want to advise you to make the best possible decision. And if that's not our product, that's okay. I'd like to ultimately earn your business at some point when there's a fit here. But if there's not a fit here today, then I don't want to waste time, going down a path or going into an evaluation that's ultimately not going to be the best for either of us. So, it's a delicate conversation. It takes a lot of practice to get to a point where you can confidently disqualify or confidently break up with a prospect. But I assure you, and we talked about this last week or a couple weeks ago, I should say, in the episode I did with Zachary Ballinger. He was one of the first people that I heard send a prospect to our competitor. And it just blew my mind because I was like, you don't do that. What do you mean? We got to try to close every possible deal that comes across the desk, right? And his perspective was, you can, but it might end up being, a bad customer fit down the road, which can impact the business in a negative way. So your job, as whether you're the SDR or an AE, it's your job to do that discovery and to do that qualification and make sure that there's a mutual fit, so that nothing down the road comes back to be a negative experience. And as you do this, you'll actually build a stronger pipeline too, because you'll feel a lot more confident. You'll have more command and control over your active deals. And in your next forecast meeting, you'll be able to say, no, I've done my due diligence in terms of vetting these customers, and I know they're a good fit, and I know there's mutual alignment between what we're offering. We've already talked about the minimum cost threshold, so pricing shouldn't be something that bites us later on. I'm feeling pretty good about these deals based on these data points that I have and based on these questions that I've asked. So in short, guys, that's how you can break up with your prospects or your customers at that, and disqualify those leads that aren't a good fit for your business. Thanks for listening. I've got a secret weapon for you that's going to skyrocket your sales without the unnecessary headaches that come along with using one of the big player CRM systems. That secret weapon is Close CRM. Now, let's face it. We've all been there. We've used a clunky, confusing system that kind of makes you want to throw your laptop out the window. Well, fear not. Close is here to save your time, money, and sanity. Close has all of the powerful sales tools you need, minus the drama, to manage your leads, track your deals, and crush your targets effortlessly. It has calling, emailing, SMS, multi-channel sequences, and it even has meeting tracking built right in. It's easy to set up and implement. You can stop screwing around with CRMs that aren't built for you and start selling and managing customers today. You can start a free trial using the link in the show notes, special for SSP fans.